Welcome back to Cards and Comics, guys. Today I have another product review. And, again, I've been always trying to find better ways to display my cards. And today I'm going to do a card holder. But before I do that, I want to give a little quick update on my last product review, the All Touch holder. Because I did switch out a card from a holder. I actually switched out a card and put a Connor McDavid auto that I was going to get graded, and I decided I don't really think I want to get graded. It looks really cool as it is. It's numbered to 25, and I'm just like, I'm not sure grading is really going to do a lot for this card, honestly. And but when I tried to pop the card that was in here before out, it was really hard to get out of the holder. It seems like a lot of static electricity. Maybe it's just this one card, but it was a card that wasn't chrome. It was actually a paper card. It was that King Griffey Jr. card from Stadium Club. So just something to keep in mind is that, I don't know if that was just a one-off, but, that card was hard. And then when I try to pop it open again, there's a lot of static electricity, it seems, that keeps the cards in there, which is good from safety. But if you're going to swap holders quite a bit, probably not as good. But the one thing I do say is one thing I didn't mention in the video was I do think these will look awesome in a display case. I think these holders will look really nice in a display case. So it's kind of like if you have some high-end modern cards you don't want to get graded, or you just haven't you're going to go show and you've got some really cool autos, things you want to display. I think it's going to work really well for that. So because it looks really high-end. But today we're going to talk about Collect3D.com's PSA stand. And I went to the website, and they have almost everything, or a holder for every kind of card. In fact, they have SGC, CSG, I think BGS. So if you have a graded card, they have a holder for it. Now, they're obviously 3D printed, but, the one thing I like about them is that they design them in a way to not have to have any build. So some holders, and I'll show you in a second, do have things you have to kind of put together. You just have to pop out these little tabs. They just slide, they just pop out, and there's your stand. Voila, you're done. And the way the card goes in, you just take the card and you just pop it in. It's just as simple as that. So, and again, and the one thing about it, and again, it's going to look a little weird on camera because of the angle and the light of everything, but it's almost straight up and down. It's got a little tilt to it, which makes a difference because I'm showing you some other holders and just sort of how they work. I'll show you kind of a range of holders, and the holder I'm using the most often is probably the most cheap, because it's just, they kind of have the right angle for me. But in terms of just, because sometimes if the card is too straight, it's hard to see the card. If it's too angled, it looks weird in the light. So you kind of have to play around with your holders a little bit to see which one you like the best when you put them in your display. The one thing that's bad about all holders, except for probably one that I'm going to show you, is that, I have them in a shelf, or I have them kind of in a display case. If you just barely nudge the display case, it's literally a foot behind me, they will fall over, they tip over, they're like weeble wobbles. They're not designed to be very stable. Especially, with the way I'm using them. Now, I'm sure there's other products on the market that are just as good as better than this. I just not aware of them. I use this product. I have a display I'll show you here in a minute of what I've, to compare what I currently have versus this. And I think they look nicer, and I'm going to probably swap all of my my current holders to this because they're just really stable. You can kind of just do this to them. You can kind of do this to them. You can kind of do this to them. It's hard to knock these over. If you just flick it, it's like, if you just barely nudge your, you hit it forward, it's the easiest way. But I'm just saying, if you just barely nudge your cases around, this thing's not going to fall over, and it's going to look good. I think it's also you can use it at shows, so it's like it's pretty versatile. And again, nothing to build. It's pretty cheap, and the way this cost-wise, it's about $3.50 per holder. You can get a pack of 10 for $35. So it's not overly expensive. There's other things out there more expensive than this, honestly, especially on the PSA side of it. So that's the first holder. So You know, this is the one, you know, I'm going to talk about the most, but here are some comparisons. So the current holder I'm using the most often is this little guy right here. And so you hit it here, and this is how most of my cards are displayed right now. And it's simple. It's easy to do. They're cheap. You can get them on, I think, Amazon. But the problem is that, you know, I probably won't do it here, but it doesn't take much to knock that over. You just barely nudge it and it falls over. And that's my biggest problem. Is just if I'm doing anything, I just barely hit the card, they fall over. And that's my problem. Now, angle-wise, you can see the card is at more of an angle than this holder is going to be. So, you know, but I like the angle here better when I have them side by side. So that's the one I'm using the most is right here. Another one that I used prior. In fact, a lot of my Clementes are in this holder here just because of age. This is like my first holder. And these are Ultra Pros. So these are Ultra Pros. And so they work like this. So you put it like that. And these have even worse because of the triangle design. They have basically one little point of contact in the back, and it doesn't take much to knock this over. You literally look at this card wrong in this holder and it will fall over. It's insanely unstable, and I really don't like it. I mean, you know, you could just barely, you know, touch it. It wobbles. I mean, it barely stays where it's supposed to be. It's the worst. It's literally the worst. And again, you know, but this was what was available. This is Ultra Pro. Like I was like, okay, I need a holder. Who makes holders? Well, Ultra Pro does. All right, the next one I get, and this is one I ordered. I hate to say, like, you know, through Becca, but this is one you have to build. They come in a pack like this. You know, like put the card in sideways, and when you twist it, it kind of locks in place. I'm not looking right now, so there we go. And then you can slide it. Once you have it twisted in place, you can slide it up and down. Which this does something really good is that it creates, you can change the angle of your card. So if you want something more straight up and down, you can do that. If you want something that's really further back, you can do something like this. You know, really laid back like that. A lot of options. It's more stable too. So these holders, I bought a box of them, and they work pretty well. And you know, it's a pain in the butt to have to build them. So, you know, like, it's just one of those things where, and then to get them all to be the exact same angle, that's the problem, because you have to literally, you know, take each one of them and make, you know, either measure or put a mark so that each card, and again, this is OCD stuff, but you know, you want all your cards to kind of be at the same angle when they're right next to each other. And so that's the only really knock against it, is that you have to build it. You have to kind of like find out what angle works for you. And so that's holder number 4 of the group here. And then the big dog, the expensive one, the one I said, like, there's one that's more stable, but it's expensive. And that's this guy right here. This is the PSA holder. So if you look at it, it's PSA branded. They've done multiple versions of this holder throughout the years. Some of the holders do some weird stuff. So through the changes throughout the year, they started out with these cards being straight up and down. Straight up and down. It's not even angled a bit. Now, some years, I think I'm looking for one that's actually angled. But at some point, they changed them and they angled them. So when they did that, I couldn't use them because I have holders at one angle and holders at another angle. Side by side, they look weird. Another thing that happened was the newer holders, for whatever reason, you know, PSA's changed their holder now. So the old holders won't fit the new PSA slabs. So, and I believe these were, I think, $14 or $15 a piece. Like, really expensive. Obviously, the branding. So I have quite a few of these, and most of my big Collect3D cards are in these, actually, and they all have the same angle. But again, when I bought the new ones, they had a different angle. And again, the new ones work okay, but the old ones won't work for the new holders. The new holders are thicker. So again, it's not the perfect solution. So, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but for people who display cards and want something that's stable and looks good, I just feel like, $3.50, this works really well. I just ordered a batch of SGC cards, and, to me, it's just like being able just to do that, like right off the bat, and this thing's stable, and it, like I don't have to worry about it just falling over every time I barely bump my, when I walk by my case. It's just something that I'm looking forward to. Right now, I'll show you next is sort of the display I've made, and I'll do it right now. All right, so here is the cards I have with the new 3D holders here. So the 60, 61, 62, and 63, you can see that angle and see those holders are kind of straight down. Then beside them are those black holders I showed you with that different angle. And I think I like the angle and just how they look in that new holder. Now, the only thing I don't like about the holder is I do have bags on my cards, and the way they fit in the holder with the bags, sometimes the bag's crease. You can really see that 62 right there. See with the bag. So you can try to smooth the holder or the bag out a little bit to get rid of that. I might take the bags off. I don't know. I'm still debating that to make the cards look a little nicer. But again, here is the black, my new 54 I just added. And I just like that angle. I like how it looks, and there is the way that display works. I just like how they look in that display with that new holder. So that's just me. So we'll go back to my desk, and we'll give a final conclusion. All right, we're back over here. So, in conclusion, I've been looking for a while. You can see I've tried multiple different products. And in the end, just how the display looks is the winning, is the winning decision, the vote that gets me going to determine the winner. It's expensive to update all my cards to this. I mean, if I'm going to go to this holder, we're talking in this display alone, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's, 54 cards on display in each of these. So that's 54 times, do the math easier with shipping. So $4 a piece. So like 200 and, like $200 a display just for holders. But that's sort of what I just think it looks nicer. And these holders, again, these holders here, these 3 holders are very cheap. This holder is very expensive. This is $15 a piece, maybe even more now. I haven't looked in a while. So that, makes a big difference too. But, I just think this looks nicer. It's well designed. It stands up. You don't have any parts that you have to assemble. And I feel like, they have them for SGC. And that's the thing I like too. Is like this holder is tough because when I switch over to SGC cards, it doesn't fit. I have another stand that's a double stack display that doesn't fit SGC cards. This they make very specific, and they're designed for those cards. They're not kind of generic where it fits SGC okay, but it doesn't fit BGS, or the SPSA cards are real loose. It's like they're designed appropriately. I don't like that. So in the end, I think they did a good job in the design. Whoever designed the card, the holder itself, did a great job. The only negative to me, and you can't really see on this card, maybe when I hold it at this angle, there you go, how when you have a bag on the card, the bag kind of like, due to how this holder is very tight to the card, it's designed to fit it really snug, it can make that bag look a little weird in the light. This one doesn't look really that bad, honestly, just that little top. I don't know if I can make the bag super, super tight, tighten them down a little bit, or just maybe remove them if I really don't like the look, because I just feel like they're so much more stable, and they look really good in the display. So that's the review. In the end, it's a personal preference thing, but I've been after a holder that is easy to use, doesn't tip over, because I've had cards fall off my display and crack the case. That's just awful, when that happens. And you don't want, your real expensive cards to get damaged, and I think this definitely will protect against that. And again, I think it's very simple. Now, I didn't look to see. I think there is different color combinations you can get, which is kind of cool. I've been just ordering black. I might order maybe I order all my errands are in green or red, for the Braves, and then my Clemente's all in yellow, and my Maze is in orange or something. And maybe I do that. Right now, I'm ordering everything in black. I'm just being very simple. But I like it, and it was one of the ones that when I got actually, just my initial impressions when I opened the package and saw the box, I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, oh, this looks really cheap. This looks like some guy 3D printed in his garage. But then when I really went into it and how it's designed and just how it looks, and just how simple it is, it's well designed, and they did a good job, and it looks better as you keep looking at it, as you see it in the display, and as you play with it, you realize it's a really well made for $3.50. It's really well made. It does the job, and I'm going to use it. Hopefully you guys try it out. Again, I'm not being paid any money to do any of these reviews. I'm an unsponsored channel, so I'm doing this with my own money. I'm doing it because I love to find new things and share them with you guys. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.